One of the largest and most developed nations in the world, Japan is an island nation in the Northwest Pacific Ocean. It is home to major corporations such as Toyota, Sony, Honda, and the list goes on. A unique characteristic of Japan is its innovative technology. The country has an extensive physical infrastructure available for distributing goods and services, including highways, railways, subways, airports, harbours, warehouses, and telecommunications. Japan is a country that has a strong economy and a high standard of living for its people. Have you ever wondered how such a small island nation became one of the world's leading economies? In this video, I'll be taking a deeper look at the Japanese economy, looking at its history starting from just after the Second World War to its economic rise today. Post-World War II. After the Allies won the Second World War, Japan had surrendered. After this, the US sent military personnel to control Japan and to ultimately pursue the demilitarization of Japan and turn it into a democracy. Douglas MacArthur was signed to this operation by President Harry Truman. After the war, Japan was in a state of turmoil. Many of its cities had been bombed to pieces, many people had become homeless, and there was widespread food shortages. Arthur's primary objective was to establish a reliable food network into Japan, and he accomplished this by receiving donations from charities and borrowing money from the United States government. The West and many leaders in Japan sought to oust Emperor Hirohito from power and convict him as a war criminal. Emperor Hirohito was revered by the Japanese people at that time. However, General MacArthur refused to give in to these demands, insisting that the emperor should remain in power because the Japanese people revered him and loved him, so removing him would be disastrous. The next move was to secure the support of the Japanese emperor. MacArthur was successful and Japan transitioned relatively smoothly into a democracy after the move, despite it being a monarchy before. A constitution of Japan was created in 1946. Japan's first Prime Minister was sworn in on April 10, 1946, and many industries were privatised despite still being highly regulated in the government. Japanese culture became more liberal and aspects of society including the rights of women were attended to under the new constitution and leadership. With the United States' withdrawal from Japan in the early 1950s, Japan was now once again an independent nation. The Japanese economy took a turn in the 1950s. The country began to industrialize and new technologies were introduced, benefiting all industries, including farming. As Japan transformed from a traditional economy into a consumer-oriented economy in the 1960s, the government invested heavily in educational programs and social welfare, resulting in highly educated and productive workforce. With an enviable reputation for the quality, precision, and reliability of its products, Japan developed into a highly successful international trader and achieved a trade surplus, meaning it exported more than it imported. Japan's economy soared and its product demand skyrocketed in the 1960s. So, in just 2 decades, Japan went from a poor, war-torn country under the US military occupation to one of the world's most resilient, developed, and prosperous countries in the world. Western leaders were even afraid that the Japanese economy would soon overtake the United States as the world's largest economy. But this didn't happen as things began to change in the 1970s as Japan's economy slowed noticeably. Starting in the 70s, Japan's economy faced many challenges. Many of the once dominant Japanese industries, especially in manufacturing, began to decline. Japan was highly dependent on foreign oil, so the OPEC oil embargo hurt the Japanese economy as well. All of these factors contributed to the stunting of the Japanese economy. Japan's economy remained strong even after these setbacks. Although the country didn't see the growth it had in the 50s or in the 60s, the economy of Japan still continued to grow throughout the 70s and the 80s. By that time, Japan's GDP per capita was higher than the United States. Despite becoming the world's largest creditor nation in the 1990s, Japan's housing bubble burst and eventually led to a recession which resulted in great stagnation in the Japanese economy, and people started purchasing less, which resulted in increased prices. As a consequence, deflation kicked in, which further led to a contraction of spending. Since the 90s, Japan have fought this vicious cycle of deflation and they continue to do so today. Additionally, Japan is home to a population that is among the oldest in the world. It has 147 million people as of now, but it is projected to drop below 100 million by 2049, causing the economy to deteriorate further. They are turning to innovations like using robots to fill jobs, as well as allowing more foreign workers to enter the country. As a nation of resilience, Japan went from a war-torn region to one of the world's most prosperous economies in just 20 years. So whatever problems that they face in the future, I am sure that they will overcome them. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and drop a comment, and do hit the bell button as well so you're notified every time we upload a video. Until next time, goodbye.